the best keyboard isn't the most expensive, and it's loaded with great features. Hey gamers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Risk, and today we're going to be looking at the best full-length mechanical gaming keyboards for your budget. By the way, a quick and exciting announcement. I'll be doing a mouse giveaway in my next video to one of my subscribers, so if you're new here, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button below. More details on the giveaway later on. To kick off this list, let's look at the best keyboard under $100. In my opinion, one of the best keyboards for under $100 is the Redragon K556. It's probably the best budget keyboard for gaming and general office work. The K556 has all of the gaming necessities without any extra frills and comes with brown switches at an extremely affordable price. You can pick this keyboard up on Amazon for a cool $54 or on the Redragon's website for $60, so this is truly a budget-friendly keyboard. Next, a quick word on the design. It's a very minimalistic keyboard, not a whole lot going on. It has a brushed aluminum frame, chamfered polished edges, and to reduce weight, the bottom of the keyboard is a hard plastic for the frame. And speaking of lightweight, this keyboard comes in at 1.3 pounds. One of the looks I love with this keyboard is the floating key design, and it comes with the standard 104 key layout. Next, let's quickly talk about the functionality of this keyboard. For such a cheap price, it's incredible that this keyboard comes with 18 backlit modes and 4 specific ones for MOBAs, MMOs, real-time strategy games, as well as first-person shooters, which these only light up specific keys. Not much to say in the way of ergonomics here, as it only has one incline setting with the feet, and unfortunately it doesn't have any onboard storage memory, although you can save 3 profiles in the software. Like all good gaming keyboards, you are able to set up the macros here. You can do those in the software, which is actually pretty user-friendly and easy to navigate. And of course, the function key here is great for RGB options, locking the Windows key so you don't accidentally hit it, and media playback controls. As far as performance goes, the K556 does come with Atomou brown switches, which provides a tactile or bump kind of feedback. As far as extended gaming sessions goes or typing, the keys feel very comfortable, so I don't think you should have any fatigue there. There's also very little rattle on the bigger keys, and the spacebar actually feels fantastic. The 556 does obviously feature in-key rollover, so you can press multiple keys at the same time and each will be registered. And one thing to note is when you pick up the keyboard, make sure you go into the software and switch the polling rate to 1000 Hz, as it comes with a preset default of 125. Now, just a few downsides that I want to talk about with the 556. There's a lack of dedicated macro keys, no onboard profile storage, and although the keycaps are 1.5mm, they are ABS, so not the best material. Now let's take a look at the best under $150. My opinion for the best keyboard in this budget is going to be the HyperX Alloy Elite 2. A step up from the Redragon K556, the Alloy Elite 2 has more features than minimalist boards, with a number of extra nice to haves. Looking at the price of the Alloy Elite 2 here, you can pick it up on Amazon for $100, or you can hop over to HyperX's website and pick it up from anywhere $90 to $130, depending on if they have a sale going on or not. As far as design goes, the Alloy Elite 2 stands out as the only keyboard in this list with put-in keycaps, which some people love and some people don't. The top frame of the keyboard is steel, while the rest of the keyboard is plastic, along with the top row for the media keys also being plastic. The volume wheel feels great on this keyboard, while the other media keys feel a little bit cheap. And this keyboard is a bit heftier at 3.4 pounds, which means you shouldn't have any trouble with it sliding around. Next, let's briefly talk about the functionality. The Alloy Elite 2 has full RGB individually lit keys. Just like the last keyboard, as far as ergonomics go, the Alloy Elite 2 only has one incline setting with the feet. However, this keyboard does have onboard memory storage, so you are able to save up to 3 profiles on the keyboard itself. Every key on the keyboard except the media keys are macro programmable, and of course it comes with your standard Windows lock key as well. A step up from the Redragon here is that this keyboard does feature a USB pass-through also. Now, looking at the performance of the Alloy Elite 2, this keyboard features HyperX's red switches, which are linear and very similar to the Cherry MX red switches as well. The keys are great for longer gaming sessions and work, as they require a very light force to press down. And like the Redragon keyboard, the Alloy Elite 2 does feature in-key rollover. A few downsides to mention here. Although the keycaps are put-in keycaps, they are ABS, again not the best material. And unfortunately for all you Mac users, the Ingenuity software is not available to you, only for Windows users. The top plate of this keyboard can get a little little smudgy with the fingerprints at times. And last but not least, there's unfortunately no dedicated macro keys. If you're finding this video useful at all, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button below. Now let's go ahead and look at the best keyboard under $200. Now I couldn't only pick one, so I do have two options here. To kick off this section, we're going to be looking at the Steelseries Apex Pro. It's a mid-price keyboard that's loaded with tons of features and very little downside. The price of the Apex Pro is $145 on Amazon's website, while you can find it on Steelseries website anywhere from $160 to $200 depending on if they have a sale going on. As far as design goes, you'll also get an aluminum frame with this keyboard, and one thing I love is that it cuts out all the unnecessary board material to make this keyboard as slim as possible. You'll notice that the keys go right out to the edge of the keyboard. This is the first keyboard on the list that comes with a magnetically attached wrist rest, and like the Red Dragon, this keyboard does feature a floating key design. One interesting aspect you're not going to find on other keyboards is the OLED display in the top right. It's fully customizable. You're able to customize your actuation there, put images in there, even sign your name, as well as display system stats. The Apex Pro does come in at a respectable 2 pounds, so not too heavy, not too light. Now let's jump on to the functionality here. Of course, with this keyboard, each key is individually RGB lit. There is a volume wheel to be had with a single media key right below it. Again, ergonomics on this, there's only one incline setting for the feet. And as far as onboard memory goes, this keyboard can hold up to 5 profiles that include RGB and actuation settings. Of course, every key is macro programmable, and it does come with a Windows key lock. And like the previous HyperX keyboard, this one does feature USB pass-through with some cable management underneath, and the USB pass-through is actually illuminated so you can see it if you're in a dark room. And one thing to note, the software is fantastic, which I feel like Steelseries always does a great job with. Alright, now let's take a look at the performance. The Apex Pro features OmniPoint switches, which are linear and provide no tactile feedback or anything. And one of the big draws to this keyboard is that you can customize the actuation for each individual key, ranging from 0.44 millimeters to 3.6 millimeters. It also features an extremely light force to press down on the keys, which also helps for extended typing, although you could potentially misclick. And of course, like every keyboard on this list, this keyboard features in-key rollover. A quick look at the cons of this keyboard. Like I mentioned before, there's very little downside, one of them being that the Apex Pro features no dedicated macro keys, and although the keycaps are double shot, they are ABS material. The other keyboard that's fantastic that's under $200 is the Corsair K70 RGB Pro. It's about as good as a keyboard can get with minimal minor downsides. Looking at the price of the Corsair K70, you can find it starting at $160 on Amazon's website, and anywhere from $160 to $170 on Corsair's website, depending on the switches that you choose. As far as the design goes, you're going to get premium double shot PBT keycaps, no more of that ABS crap. You're going to have a brushed metal frame on top while having a hard plastic body, and of course a magnetically attached wrist rest. New to this list, this keyboard also features a detachable braided USB cord, and as far as weight goes, it comes in at about 2.5 pounds. Next, looking at the functionality, you of course are going to get full RGB lighting for each keycap, and another first for this list. As far as the ergonomics goes, the K70 features 2 incline settings for the feet. A big jump from the other keyboards on this list, the K70 features 50 onboard storage profiles. All keys on the K70 are going to be macro programmable, and it does come with dedicated media keys. That includes a textured volume wheel with a mute key right next to it. Like many other gaming keyboards, it does feature a Windows lock key. However, it does have something different in what's called a tournament switch. This disables macro keys configured and sets the backlighting to a static red for competitive play. And Corsair's software IQ is robust. Looking at the performance on the K70, this keyboard features MX Cherry switches with options for blue, red, brown, speed, and RGB silent. While the key force isn't as light as some other keyboards, it does still offer a light and excellent typing experience, and the pre-travel distance is a bit higher than other switch styles. Of course, this keyboard features in-key rollover, and one of the claim to fames for Corsair's K70 is the 8000 Hz polling rate. Looking at some of the cons here, the magnetic wrist rest doesn't stay attached too well if you pick up and move your keyboard at all. Although the software is robust, it can also be overwhelming. Another downside is there is some noticeable reverberation from the board. And lastly, unfortunately, the polling rate of 8000 Hz isn't really noticeable. Again, most of these things aren't really going to have an impact, it's just being a little bit nitpicky. Next, we're going to look at the last and most expensive tier on this list, best keyboards under $250. In my opinion, coming in as the best keyboard in this range, we're going to be looking at the Corsair K100 RGB Optical. If you're looking for a top tier keyboard and want the big brother to the K70, then this is going to be the keyboard for you. It's basically the K70 on steroids. As far as price goes, you can actually find this keyboard on Amazon for under $200 at $193, while on Corsair's website it's going to range anywhere from $200 to $230, depending on the board color that you choose as well as the switch choice. Moving on, let's take a look at the design here. Like many others, this keyboard features a brushed metal top plate and a plastic body. The K100 does feature a magnetically attached memory foam wrist rest. It does come with premium double shot PBT keycaps as well, and unlike the K70, it does come with a braided cord. However, it's not detachable, and this keyboard comes in a little bit heavier at around 3 pounds. Next, looking over the functionality of the Corsair K100, we of course have full RGB individually backlit keycaps. Again, the ergonomics here are great with 2 incline settings on the feet and a massive amount of onboard storage, being able to hold up to 200 profiles. The K100 does come with dedicated macro keys, and all keys are macro programmable, and like many others, this keyboard features dedicated media keys with a volume wheel. However, separating itself from other keyboards, the K100 features a programmable wheel control on the top left. If you press the center of this control wheel, it'll change colors indicating the mode that it's in. Blue is going to be brightness control for RGB lights. White jumps between media files if you want to go forward or backwards. Green lets you rewind or fast forward the media that you're playing. You can record macros without having to open the software. And again, like we mentioned with the K70, the Corsair software here is robust and actually lets you program the control wheel to do other things as well. Like other keyboards, the K100 does feature a Windows key lock, and this one does come with USB pass-through and cable management. Next, let's quickly cover the performance. The K100 features optical mechanical switches that features very light pressing force with a very low pre-travel distance, putting the actuation down to just 1 millimeter. Again, this keyboard is going to have the 8000 Hz polling rate, although like we mentioned with the K70, not very noticeable, and obviously in-key rollover functionality as well. And just a quick note, the OPX switches on this keyboard are rated for 150 million clicks, many more than you'll probably ever need. However, that's not to say the Cherry MX switches at 100 million clicks aren't sufficient either. Looking at the few downsides to the keyboard here, I mentioned some of them earlier. To use this keyboard, you're going to need both Corsair's IQ software as well as Elgato. Again, the 8000 Hz polling rate isn't noticeable, and unfortunately the macro keycaps on this keyboard are ABS, not the PBT. And that rounds out our top 5 full-length keyboards. However, I did want to give an honorable mention to the Razer Huntsman V2 Analog. It was a toss-up between that and the K100 for the list. With a ton of features like the K100, this keyboard is equally as impressive. However, the Analog is probably the most enticing feature. Essentially what it does, if you push down on one of the arrow keys, for example the W key, it would take into account how much pressure you're pushing down to decide how quickly your character should move forward. So if you push down the key halfway, your character's going to go about half speed, similar to how a joystick would work on a controller. The only downside with this is, however, the analog feature only works if the game supports gamepads, and it can be sometimes a bit buggy, which is why I didn't pick it for this list. But if you're interested, it is available for $230 on Amazon's website and $250 on Razer's. If you need a new mouse based on your budget and game type to go along with one of these keyboards, check out this video here where I cover 9 different mice to suit your needs. Also, a quick note on the giveaway. If you're interested, just remember that you need to be subscribed, and you'll also need to leave a comment on this video as well as the next video where I review the mouse. But don't worry, I'll remind you then as well. Thanks for sticking to the end as always, and I'll catch you in the next video.
With